Right, I think we're finally ready. Like, thank you all for showing up. Like to call the planning commission meeting to order at 4:23. There is a agenda for you guys. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? If no, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Yeah.
Brandon, all in favor? Carried. The minutes of the March 10th meeting were also before you. Were there any errors, omissions, or corrections that need to be made to that set of minutes? If not, somebody please move the minutes. Yeah. Sorry, all in favor? No old business, so the new business, the development permit application 202602, lot 15, block 15, plan 2520440, veterinary services, animal care facility shelter, is before the meeting. So before we get too far into it, I'd just like to read through the process of how we're going to address this so that everybody gets a chance to be heard and ask their questions. So I'll review the process. First, we'll hear the presentation from the administration based on the information that was presented to them. And then we will hear from the developer, the persons presenting the proposal. After that, the affected landowners who wish to be heard will then be given opportunity to speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. The order of the speaking will rotate between those in favor and those opposed. So when coming to the mic to speak, please ensure you give your name, location of residence, and indicate how you're impacted if you are against or for the proposed location of the facility. I would like to remind everybody to keep their comments respectful and keep a matter of how much time you have. And once everybody's had a chance to speak, the public comment section will end and the MPC will move into our deliberation of the issue. So that's where we start. So I will ask our administration to brief us on the issues.
Hello, everyone. So the application before us today is the proposed development of an animal care facility. So what's the proposed development? So the proposed development, like I said, is an animal care facility. And the main purpose is to support housing, care, and adoption of animals. So the proposed development is new and it entails a lot of new accommodation within the new building. They have both indoor and animal dog kennels. They're going to have a catty and cat condominium area. They have an isolation area for both their cats and dogs. They're going to have an adoption rooms to facilitate animal viewing and placement. As well, they also propose to have a medical room for basic treatment and veterinary services. Another component of the building is going to be a reception area, staff office, multi-purpose conference room. They're going to have a staff lounge and other amenities within the property. So the subject site. So the subject property is located at 9510 94 Avenue, and it is districted commercial residential within the town of East River Land Use Bylaw. So existing land use, building or structure. So the subject property is currently vacant. That means there's nothing on the ground. There is no building remaining on the structure. However, it is worthy of note that it used to be an animal shelter prior to its demolition in 2025.
Hard to hear. We can't hear you.
I think so, yeah, people struggle back here for sure.
Okay.
It makes sense to speak in mic for everybody.
Thank you. Hello, can you hear me now?
Better.
Tip it down a little later.
How about this?
Yes.
So I'll start all over again. So I said the proposed development in front of us is an animal care facility. And the first thing I was talking about is, I'm talking about the development, what they are proposing to build. So like I said, it's a new building, and basically what they're proposing is that they intend to have an indoor and outdoor dog kennels. They intend to have a cattery and cat condominium areas. They have an isolation room for both their cats and dog. The facility also include areas such as the medical room for basic medical care and treatment. They have a reception area, they have a staff area, they have a staff lounge for their staff and some other amenities. Okay, I think they have a sally port for secure animal transfer too. So it's basically modern, and what they're proposing is new and modern than what they used to have. The subject site. So the subject site is located at 951094 Avenue within the commercial residential district, which means the land is districted, is zoned commercial residential, so we can have a mix of both residential use and commercial use within these lots. So I want to talk about the existing land use, building or structure. So the property, this lot is currently vacant with no building or structure remaining on site. However, prior to there was a demolition which was done on the property in, I think, early 2025, and which was also for an animal shelter. So the former use include facility for housing and caring for animal, which is similar in nature to the proposed development. So what they're proposing now is considered to have history. What they propose, the site is therefore considered to have an history of animal care use, although it is currently undeveloped. So basically, I'm just going to move to the evaluation, which is the basic point. So we have reviewed the application against the land use bylaw requirements, and basically the application meets majority of the requirements of the land use bylaw. So the only three things the application is not meeting is what I'm trying to point out. So we checked the setback requirement, the site coverage, and the building height, and the proposed development is meeting all these requirements. As regard to parking, a total of 9 parking stalls is required for this development, and they have also provided 5 parking stalls. However, they have provided 5 on-site parking and 4 on street parking, which is actually section 10.29 of the land use bylaw allow for on-street parking to be credited toward required parking, provided there is no obstruction, such as fire hydrant or loading zone. And in this instance, there is no fire hydrant and there is no loading zone on the road. So the proposed on-street parking is considered acceptable based on section 10.29 of the land use bylaw. Another thing is section 10.211 of the land use bylaw requires that one of the provided parking stalls should be dedicated to person with disabilities. And the parking stall should be on site. However, they have proposed to put the person with disability parking lot on street. And if you check the submitted site plan, you realize that their parking stall, the proposed on-site parking stall, is towards the east part of the building, and the proposed accessible parking stall is directly in front of the building, which means it is in close proximity to the entrance of the building than the on-street parking stall. So that way, it's a variance to the land use bylaw requirement. So they are seeking to vary that requirement to put the accessible parking stall on street instead of to put it on site, which I don't think we have any impact based on the proposed site plan, which shows that the on-street parking stall has close proximity to the building than if they decided to put it on site. So that is the variance they are asking for. Another thing is that the land use bylaw do require that the size of the parking stall should be 3.0 by 6.0. So in our old bylaw, the requirement was a bit lower, and according to them, they have started working on this application before the new bylaw was adopted. However, since the new bylaw has been adopted, they still need to follow the new rules. So their proposed parking stall size is 3.0 by 5.50, which is just a little bit below the required 3.0 by 6.0 meter. So it's a little bit variance, and they're asking that the MPC grant variance to that requirement. And section 10.3.1 of the land use bylaw grants the MPC the power to grant these variances. It is minor, and we have less impact on the parking functionality of the surrounding area. Another thing that is worthy of note is the landscaping. So with the new land use bylaw, we have some requirements for landscaping which they are not meeting. So the bylaw, based on the size of their site, they are required to have at least 5 trees and 20 scrubs. And they have proposed to have 3 trees and 10 scrubs. And I don't think, since they already proposed to have some form of landscaping, I don't think the proposed landscaping will have any impact on the development. And aside from all these 3 things, they are meeting the land use bylaw requirements. So this is my overall planning consideration. The proposed development is for an animal care facility located in an area that includes nearby residential use. While concerns have been raised by some adjacent property owners, there are several planning considerations that support the appropriateness of this development. The site was previously used as an animal shelter prior to demolition of the building. The current proposal represents a continuation of historical use rather than introduction of a new or unfamiliar activity in the area, which supports compatibility with the surrounding context. Similarly, the property is designated within the commercial residential district, which is intended to accommodate a mix of commercial and residential uses. The proposed use aligns with the intent of the district and fit within the definition of veterinary services under the land use bylaw. The development complies with key regulations, including setback, building out, height, and site coverage, which will help to reduce potential impact on adjacent residential properties. In addition, a fence is proposed along the east property line, providing screening and a physical buffer between the development and adjacent residential lots. This will help minimize visual impacts, noise, and general disturbance to neighboring properties. And lastly, animal shelter provide an important community service by supporting animal welfare and public safety. With appropriate site design, buffering, and operational consideration, development can function in a manner that is compatible with nearby residential uses. Overall, the proposal is considered appropriate as it aligns with the land use bylaw, reflects historical use of the site, and incorporates measures such as fencing and setback to mitigate impact on adjacent properties. That'll be all.
Okay, do we have any questions for the administration on that report? Well, if not, then we'll hear from the proponent for the application.
Presentation. Just hold on, I can just. If you like just hold. Oh, I maybe use this.
Okay, I can scroll as long as I can read my notes. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Penny Steffen, and I am the president of the Peace Regional SPCA. Good afternoon to the Municipal Planning Commission and guests in attendance. On behalf of the Peace Regional SPCA volunteer board of directors, staff, and our many supporters, we are grateful for the opportunity to be here today. After years of dedication, planning, and hard work, we are pleased to present our development permit application along with our requests for variances related to parking and landscaping. We understand that this is discretionary use level 2 and may need further assessment, and we hope to answer many of those questions today. We are pleased to be here to walk you through our proposed design and provide facts about the shelter and the building and the thoughtful improvements we have made, not only to enhance our facility, but to better support the surrounding area as well. This has been a carefully considered process shaped by collaborative feedback, expert guidance, and a strong commitment to doing this right. Our goal is to create a space that improves the quality of life for the animals in our care, while also being respectful to our neighbors and aligned with council's direction. Today, we are looking forward to sharing how this design achieves that balance and the meaningful steps that we have taken to get here. The future is finally here. It has been a long and challenging road to reach this point. We have faced many hurdles along the way, and through it all, we have approached every step with care, diligence, and intention. At times, it felt like we were being pulled in every direction, just trying to find the right path forward. Prior to 2021's donation request, we explored every option available to us, reviewing more than 15 properties in the town of Peace River, the MD of Peace, and the town of Grimshaw. We negotiated with landowners, sought renovation quotes, consulted real estate professionals, and engaged engineers for their expert opinions. Time and time again, we were met with setbacks, costs that didn't make sense, or advice that led us to walk away. Still, with each disappointment, we remained committed and continued moving forward. Has it taken longer than we had hoped? Absolutely, it has. And despite the financial strain we have carried over the past few years with the demolition of the old facility and the abatement and the increased cost of the demolition that was not covered by the town, the relocation of power lines and data cables and geotechnical surveys, we have continued in good faith and with unwavering determination to reach this moment. In June of 1989, several animal-loving citizens came together to officially start what was then the Peace River SPCA. The reason? To address the increase of unwanted and uncared for animals in the town of Peace River. With housing of these animals being done at the local vet clinic, it was easy to see that a facility was needed. In September of that same year, Mayor Proctor and Council generously decided to let the SPCA occupy 9510 94th Avenue. This location has been where the SPCA has provided refuge for thousands of animals over the past 37 years, minus the last few where we've had to be in a temporary location awaiting this development. While our old facility served us well for many years, it was never designed to be an animal shelter. In 2021, when council generously offered the 2 lots where the shelter stood for over 30 years, it felt right. The location has always been home. It offers so much of what we need: access to the dike for walking dogs, proximity to local schools, appropriate zoning in a mixed commercial residential area, the railway overlay that provides a sound barrier to the north, and a lot size and layout that truly supports our vision. At this meeting, council gave us a clear directive, instructing us to take all reasonable steps to mitigate barking. We believe the newly designed facility directly responds to council's directive and reflects a thoughtful, well-informed approach to mitigate noise. We know that the old facility, our dogs were constantly exposed to outside stimuli, which made them bark at times. There were people walking through the outdoor dog area to access our entrance, vehicles coming into the facility right beside the dog's outdoor area. We also had front-facing dog kennels, and on top of that, a very busy street as Co-op and Fountain Tire were thriving businesses in our immediate area. All of these factors contributed to an increase in barking. Long before we got to this point for the plan that you see here today, board members and staff started to do research about shelter design and the impacts that it has on animal health and welfare. We sent one board member and one staff member to an animal sheltering conference where they attended a session on shelter design. We also attended an animal welfare conference where another SPCA shared their building journey. It was eye-opening, and they shared all the details of their undertaking. From there, we went on to review the guidelines for standards of care in animal shelters and researched many websites such as the American SPCA, UC Davis Shelter Medicine Program, and the University of Florida Shelter Medicine Program. It was here that we were fortunate to have connected with Dr. Alex Ellis, a Canadian veterinarian that at the time was working at the University of Wisconsin and now at the University of Calgary as an assistant professor in small animal community care. Dr. Ellis is board certified in shelter medicine practice and has worked with hundreds of shelters across Canada and the US, helping to design and improve facilities in ways that reduce fear, stress, and anxiety for animals. With his input, we reimagined our dog housing from one large shared area to 4 distinct housing spaces where the arrows are showing today. He challenged us to meet higher standards of care and help shape this facility that is safer, healthier, and more comfortable for both animals and people. Also along the way, we've shared our plans with other veterinary professionals, both locally and beyond, to seek their expertise and visited several other shelters across Alberta and BC. Upon Dr. Ellis's recommendation, we hired an architectural firm that specializes exclusively in animal shelters and veterinary facilities, professionals who hold an exceptionally high standard for animal welfare. With their expertise, we developed a design that prioritizes both the quality of life for the shelter animals and the consideration of our neighbors. The design, as you can see, is a significant improvement from the one large area where cats, dogs, birds, and bunnies were all housed before. We are very proud to have added one designated area with low stimuli for dogs that become easily aroused, which is the room in the bottom left-hand corner. We have also planned to add a new modern HVAC system to improve air quality. Along with our already strict biosecurity protocols and the new system, odors will be non-existent. From here, we went on to hire Design 3 architectural design and drafting to create the plan you see here today. Even though this facility is larger, it does not mean we are going to significantly increase the number of animals that we house. There are several reasons for this, but one very important reason is length of stay, which is the duration an animal spends in the shelter from the day of intake to the day of outcome. Length of stay is a critical factor in the shelter medicine and management, affecting animal health, well-being, cost, and our capacity to save lives. Length of stay is actually considered more of a risk factor and needs to be managed efficiently, and when it is, there's less risk of disease, animals will experience less stress from overcrowding, staff will benefit from a reduced workload, and the flow of animals through the shelter will be better. Normally, we would house about 15 to 18 dogs and 30 to 40 cats in the old shelter, and our general population capacity here is 20 to 22 dogs and 40 to 50 cats. We all have also learned a great deal from being in our temporary location on the West Hill. Although this location hasn't been the most ideal, we are very grateful that we have been able to conduct our business in this rental site as we await this project. We have gained a lot of knowledge in what works and what doesn't and what we can do better. Along with the expanded dog areas, the building will now have a southeast facing door to the public for access. There will be no more walking through 12 dogs to get to the entrance and sending them into a very loud and rambunctious welcoming committee. Parking access will be on the street, and on the east side of the building, we will have 5 stalls and 3 parking stalls for staff is where they will park. Our outdoor dog area has moved to the west side of the building, away from our closest residential neighbors, Greg and Maria Beckley, who have both written a letter of support of welcoming us back to the neighborhood. This area has been enhanced to include several kennels that have indoor-outdoor access. This is important to help dogs adjust to shelter life. They can choose to be around other dogs or can quietly enjoy some time alone in their kennel. It will also have a privacy barrier on the outside fence to decrease noise and stimuli, while they will get to enjoy being outdoors. We have also have future plans for landscaping improvements of trees and shrubs and more fencing beyond just chain link. Another addition to the overall facility is to better enrich our dogs' lives is a large outdoor play area at the back of the shelter, away from constant outside stimuli, sheltered in by the railway overlay area and the shelter. This beautiful area will provide a space where the dogs can enjoy playful activities with each other, our staff, and our volunteers. As we develop this space, we are confident that the natural sound barrier to the north with the railway overlay with trees and other vegetation, and to the south with a new shelter parallel to the runs will be a huge improvement. Even though dogs get most of the attention in this discussion, I did want to share a little bit about our cat housing and the cat spaces. We will provide improved housing that meets or exceeds industry standards. New stainless steel condos that are more spacious and with dedicated living and litter area is an important part of keeping our cats happy and healthy. Although all condos will not be this size, we have increased the size of each cage in the facility. Our catteries are more spacious with natural light and walls that can be easily cleaned and disinfected. We have also added a hand washing sink in close proximity to the cat area to decrease the spread of disease. Another thing that we are very proud of that some of our staff have completed fear-free shelter training or are fear-free certified professionals. Our goal is to have each staff member complete fear-free shelter within the first few months of employment. Fear-free is an internationally recognized certification program that trains leaders in animal well-being, helping to prevent and reduce fear, anxiety, and stress in animals. Why is this important for today? If we can address and reduce FAS in our dogs and cats, we enrich their lives and their chances of being adopted. We increase their quality of life and make them happier, healthy animals. I'm not saying today that our dogs are never going to bark, but dogs bark to communicate, and we cannot take that away from them. Barking expresses emotion, alerts others to stimuli, or to fulfill another need like joy or attention. What we have done, though, is design a facility to help alleviate the reasons why it is happening, provide training to our staff, and created a space to manage high-energy dogs that come into our care. This facility is designed to enrich animals' lives, not just house them. According to the town's current strategic plan, there are 4 overreaching pillars. We firmly believe that the Peace Regional SPCA can make a meaningful contribution to the first 3 pillars of the town's plan by providing a safe, welcoming space where the community can come together for the benefit of both animals and people. The facility will serve as an educational hub where we promote responsible pet ownership, support learning opportunities, and create meaningful connections between people and animals, and fostering a strong sense of community and shared responsibility. We have been creating partnerships with organizations from larger centers such as Parachute for Pets and Wild North. Parachute for Pets advances mental health and community well-being through animal-assisted support, believing that the connection between people and pets is powerful. They have developed Pause for Mental Health, which is a mobile wellness program that they are willing to bring to this area. Animal shelters play a vital role in society, not only by providing care for the animals, but by contributing to the overall well-being of communities. They enhance public safety by addressing stray and at-risk animals, helping create safer neighborhoods and for the residents. The health benefits of pet ownership and the human-animal bond are well established. Shelters are an important gateway to those benefits through adoption, helping reduce stress, combat loneliness, and support positive mental health outcomes. This is not just an investment in animal care, it's an investment in community well-being. I think for too long, some people have seen the SPCA as a burden and not really looked at us as a business and a strong contributor to our society and to the economy of the area. We currently employ 14 staff across full-time, part-time, and casual roles. These are stable, local jobs that support families in our community. We also play an important role in workforce development. Many students get their first job with us, and others return during college and university to build skills. Some even go on to careers in veterinary medicine. Our core team brings years of experience in animal care and are amazing at what they do. Our manager has been a dedicated part of the organization for the past 20 years. We also employ 2 registered veterinary technologists, and we have several long-term team members, all that are knowledgeable and take exceptional care of the animals and the facility. We support local business by purchasing supplies, working with local veterinary clinics, and contract local businesses whenever possible. This new facility represents a significant investment back into the community. Our day-to-day operations support the impact. Every dollar spent on food, medical care, maintenance, and utilities stays within our area. We also bring people into the community for adoptions and volunteering and events, which helps support the surrounding businesses. Importantly, the work we do helps reduce pressure on municipal resources by providing animal care and support services. And finally, this is a long-term investment, a facility that will serve this community for decades, supporting both animal welfare and the people that rely on it. The health benefits of pet ownership and the human-animal bond are well documented, and we know that time with animals reduces stress, anxiety, and loneliness, and being at the shelter can offer a calm, welcoming space where they can feel comfort and connection. And the SPCA also is a place for people of all ages to engage, whether through visits, volunteering, or adoptions. Programs like our pet safekeeping program that we have a partnership with the Peace Regional Women's Shelter, our pet food bank, and our summer reading program are just a couple of examples and meaningful ways that we support people in the community. We are shaping a compassionate community as well, continuing to provide education and positive experiences that foster empathy and responsibility, especially by our youth. We will strengthen our community bonds through a shared care of animals. What are we bringing back to 94th Avenue? Safety and stability. Our new $2 million shelter has been thoughtfully designed using crime prevention through environmental design principles. This means safety is built into the design, not an afterthought. Lighting, security systems, and site orientation have been carefully planned to enhance safety for staff, visitors, and animals both day and night. We feel that this design creates a strong sense of ownership and care, which naturally discourages unwanted activity. Although the SPCA has long operated under the principles of a good neighbor policy, we have since approved and enacted an official policy to solidify our commitment. This formal commitment to operate responsibly and respectfully within the community outlines how our organization will minimize its impact on surrounding residents and businesses. It is showing our accountability, transparency, and proactive planning, not reacting to issues, but preventing them. In a presentation to Council in August of 2021 by the SPCA's Building Committee, we set out with 2 goals. One, to ask for the donation of the land that we have continuously occupied for many years, and 2, to provide suitable information to Council to show the need for a new animal care facility in the town of Peace River. We provided several reasons to Council that night, with the biggest concern being the maintenance of the facility, as it was getting too much for our organization to bear. We needed a new roof, our ventilation system was no longer working, we had mold concerns, and we had electrical issues that would heat up the wall on a rainy day. We presented animal intake statistics and municipal data showing that the town of Peace River was the highest contributor to the number of animals that come into the facility. At that time, the building was just a dream, but the process had already begun. A needs assessment was completed and options for designs was started. We shared our goals of providing a healthier environment to our animals and staff, and the facility to better facilitate education programs and to create a comfortable, welcoming space to the public. In good faith, the SPCA has been working with the Town of Peace River Council and Administration since they approved this donation in 2021. We have invested heavily in this project, and to date, we have $278,000 out to getting to this project to where it is today. The Peace Regional SPCA Board of Directors and staff have approached this project with integrity, transparency, and a deep commitment to our community. Throughout this process, we have worked in good faith with the Town of Peace River, providing updates, sharing financial responsibility, and demonstrating sound financial stewardship. We respectfully ask the Municipal Planning Commission to approve this development, recognizing the diligence and care taken to provide clear information. This new shelter is not simply a replacement facility. It represents a significant step forward in animal care and welfare in Northern Alberta. It reflects modern standards, thoughtful design, and a vision that supports both animals and the people who rely on this service. We remain committed to working collaboratively with Council and sincerely hope the Commission will support welcoming the animal-loving public back to its long-standing home at 9510 94th Avenue. As an organization that has served this community for 37 years, the outcome of this decision carries real and lasting consequences. Without approval, this project and the sustainability of our operations will be seriously jeopardized, impacting our ability to continue providing essential services to the community. I am pleased to have provided letters of support from the Outreach Campus, local schools, and our immediate neighbors, the Beckleys, as well as current and past business neighbors. Along with the 383 residents of Peace River that signed our signatures of support and 318 from the region, as well as I'd like to acknowledge the 1,145 online signatures, and I'm happy to pass on the good neighbor policy as well. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, it's your turn. We're gonna go forward, I think, with hearing from some of the members of the audience. So if you want to speak to the issue, again, I'll just reinforce the process. When you come up to a mic, you've got yourself 5 minutes maximum to give your name, location, and residence where you're at, and indicate how you're impacted and whether you're for or against the proposal. So I don't see a lineup, but if somebody chooses to speak in favor of the proposal, please hit the mic.
In favor?
In favor, let's start.
Are we just waiting for somebody to talk or?
Is this all in favor? Can they present the opposition first?
Okay,
We're talking about the opposition first, I think, right?
Yeah.
okay, we can do it that way if that's the way you choose.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would like whoever's gonna speak out to come up to the mic.
I'll go with that. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rick Dossler. I live at 9621 94th Avenue. And I will be impacted from the location of this SPCA. First of all, I'm not against the SPCA. I agree with the work it does. It's awesome. But I see, listening to Shelley, that they seem to be concerned about the north. And they got a sound barrier with the railway tracks, but you don't have a sound barrier for us to the east of it, to the south of it, on our street. The bottom line really is the dogs bark. I mean, I've been there for 20-some years now. And the other problem that I had with the SPCA was the people walking the dogs, going to the mailbox. The dogs go to the bathroom all over the street, nobody cleans it up. I complained numerous times. And I realized that they're just kids most of the time that walk these animals. So I guess you can't expect them to pick up everything. But at the same time, everybody goes to the mailbox. And like I say, it's not just the noise, it's the odor. What about the diseases? Once these dogs start barking, most of us on that street have animals. And they will all start barking, just as they do where they are located right now. I was talking to people in Shaftesbury Estates say their dogs don't stop barking now because they hear the SPCA dogs. Like really, I get it, there's no controlling them dogs from stopping to bark. But at the same time, they should find a different location. And I know they got offered different locations. And one of them is kind of in an industrial area, not far from where we're at right now, probably 2 blocks away. And very little houses. The schools are right there beside them. I think it's an excellent, and I think it's probably twice the amount of land that they got offered to them. And I heard they got another land offered to them by Pat's Creek, by Billy Foster. And I don't know if they approached Billy and said yay or nay to it, but obviously by talking to him, he said they never got back to him. So obviously they don't seem to want that. But if we're looking for future development in our downtown area on those streets, we're not gonna get it if the SPC is there. Like for one, I am in the middle of gonna put 4 houses on my street. I am not gonna do that if the SPCA goes there. And I would hope that the committee here sides on the residents that pay the taxes. Because I know the SPCA don't pay taxes. What about the SPCA's offsite levies? Have they paid that? I don't know. I couldn't get an answer from the town. But really, all these businesses should be paying their way. And I'd just like to say that if the SPCA wants to be a good neighbor, I would move to the other location. And if they do that, I will donate them $1,000 and ask every business in this community to donate another $1,000 to match mine to the SPCA, if they move. But really, in this location on my street, they got no business there. They said in their ad in the paper, online, that they do 600 to 700 animals a year, and with this new facility, double it. Now, can you imagine the dogs barking, the animal feces? Where do they wash their kennels out to? The outside kennels. You know, on the street, in the back alley? Like, really, this is not a place for the SPCA. And I would hope that the committee sides on behalf of the residents on these streets. I got about 28 signatures of people, and I think there's 33 on these 2 streets. And when I got the petition going, I was told I can only go on those 2 streets because they're the only ones affected. So to me, any other people that signed a petition is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. They don't live on these streets. And I would love to ask everybody in here if they would like that on their street. Because I'll guarantee you, 90-some% of you say, no way, man. So you should vote it down, let them find another area, and I'll be happy to throw in $1,000 and ask every other business in town to match it. Thanks.
Anybody want to speak on behalf of in favor of the proposal?
I do. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maria Beckley. Been a resident of 9606 94th Avenue for 26 years now. When I first moved in there, Greg and I moved into 9606. It was the SPCA was already in existence. At first we were wondering how we were gonna deal with the dogs being in there and barking and what have you. But It turned out to be quite all right. We were happy to be there for all those years. The SPCA was their neighbors of us for over 20 years. And when after a while the noise it didn't seem to bother us or anything. Like if we hear more the rail tracks than what we hear the animals, to be quite honest. There were kids, come over and walk the dogs. It's been times when I have gone to the mailbox and the odd time I did notice maybe a volunteer didn't pick up, but it was hardly ever noticeable any species laying around the mailboxes. I pick up my mail at the same box as my neighbor Rick does. I'll have you, when the SPCA moved out from their facilities beside my home after 20 plus years, it was truly, truly sad day for us to see them go. And for all this time they were gone, I've been hoping and praying they will come back. My house is right beside the old SPCA. It was truly wonderful having all those animals there. I felt safe. Now I'm by myself in there for most of the time. So with my dogs, I have 2 dogs, 3 cats in my home. However, ever since the SPCA pulled out of there, I had never, in all the years that I've been residents of this place, I never seen so much vandalism, crime, people coming over trying to break into my dining room window. One night at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I had to call the RCMP. There were 3 men trying to get in my house. I'm there by myself with my 2 dogs and what have you. Then it's a while later, this past summer, it was another incident where I'm an early bird. I'm up every day, 4 a.m. on the dot. And don't like to sleep in, I got things to do. So I'm outside having my 6 a.m. coffee. And it was dark as still outside. The light was just starting to come out a little bit. I'm outside having my coffee. And all of a sudden, my dogs alert me that somebody was around. I'm sitting facing the driveway. My house is behind me, patio's over here. And I turned around to see what my dogs were looking at and growling at. And there were 2 guys climbing over my fence and trying to get in through my kitchen window while I'm sitting outside having my morning coffee. I then yell at them, "What the hell are you doing? Get out of my property," and all this and that. I don't feel safe ever since the SPCA has been going out of there because of all the crimes been happening since they left. I had stuff stolen, people breaking in. I even had a yard sale last summer where somebody stole the bike that I had put up for sale right from the yard sale that I was having when I was busy giving change to somebody. Somebody drove away with my bike. It's been so many issues in that neighborhood ever since the SPCA went away. And that's all I could say. I would love to have them back. And with my heart, that's all I'm here for. Yes, and support this because I feel safer with the environment there, having them there. That's all I want to say. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you.
Good afternoon. I'm Jeannie Kalen. I own a couple of lots, 2 doors down from this proposed site. So I did a little bit of research on my own, not very successful, but so I was kind of hoping for some enlightenment here. But I couldn't find any other community that was doing recent approvals for an animal shelter in a residential area. I know everybody's emphasizing that it's commercial residential, but I'm questioning whether it even fits into the commercial category because it does have noise pollution. So I've owned that property for 20 years and it's been so peaceful with them gone. I know it's exciting because it's new development in Peace River and a development that is much needed. But when I look at the building proposed on the site, it already looks like they've already outsized themselves. It's, we're making different concessions. Well, they there's no parking on on site, so we're gonna make a concession for that. Why would we not have a facility that already fits them with parking, with, it sounds like they have a wonderful agenda of having activities. How are you gonna have an activity on a site that's too small? You know, and so that's what I see when I look at the site plan. This is the first time I've seen the site plan. So, I guess my question is, how many are getting, development permits in residential areas? Now, like, does anybody know that? I don't know. So, some of the review I found was like noise, odor, and neighborhood impact. Was there a study done? I mean, the neighbors have come up with a petition because of the noise, so that should be considered part of the study, the impact. It's impacting the neighbors. The noise is impacting the neighbors. I've owned 4 properties within 3 blocks of that site, and I've heard the dogs at all of them, and some of them are 3 or 4 blocks away. Not significantly, but they're still heard. And that's not a negative on the SPCA. I'm just saying that the site looks too small and it just doesn't fit the neighborhood, as we are majority residential. Also, when Tony was looking at, so now the Bell Center is going to be a site that the town or somebody is gonna have to deal with. When she was proposing a development, a resident, like a seniors development, I heard numerous of them, people say, why would I invest in property by barking dogs? You know, when you're a senior, you want quiet, you want a sense of community. And you know, some of the frustration with the community in that area is we're dealing with homelessness and also the loss of the trees. The trees were taken down and that also contributed to sound barriers. So it's tough for that community to think that we're gonna have another negative impact, you know, the noise of barking dogs again, right? It was before and it is now, if it gets approved. And it doesn't look like there's room for any expansion or even play area for the dogs, like that small kennel area. And the concession of parking. So if they're gonna have activities on that site and they have 5 stalls, how are they gonna do, you know, school activities or, you know, open public things on that site, a small site? It's just such a beautiful facility. It seems like they need more space and more opportunity to offer the things that they're proposing, is what I'm seeing. Anyway, I guess I think that was about it. Just, thank you very much, Ms. Dunn. Thank you.
There's over up there. Good afternoon, people. My name is Glenn Rousel. I live up by Warrensville. I've been doing a project at the hospital here in town for the last year and a half. I was the general contractor on it, so I had lots of spare time. So I go down the SPCA daily, sometimes 3-4 times a day, maybe more. I moved up here by myself, it was pretty quiet, and it's just a good, healthy spot to be around the animals and stuff, and I understand people's concerns about the noise and whatnot. So I'd be out there doing work at the SPCA where they're renting now, and working on the kennels, covered over the kennels with tin and stuff like that. I understand the dogs bark, they're dogs. Everybody, a lot of people have dogs, they all bark. But the way this new building is being laid out, it's not the same. Like, I understand people have concerns that they're still gonna hear dogs barking all the time. There's not gonna be like random old dog houses laid out all around this building. The facility is set up very well. As Benny was saying, like there's been lots of studies and stuff thrown into it. It's just not a box that somebody's built to throw these animals in, you know. and say, there you go. People are concerned about the odors and the smells and stuff like that, like it's been engineered, designed. There's been multiple studies on it. And it's a proper facility. Once again, like I understand people concerned, but if people would take a little time maybe and look at the drawings and see how it's laid out and see like these play areas and stuff for kids to do and just extra outdoor activities, like it's all laid out on the plot of land. So like it just takes a little more studying to just assume that it's going to be the same and sound the same. And one thing that I've noticed being up over the hill, and I've asked myself, because I don't see many volunteers up there. It's like, oh, like how come? And they said, well, because they're up over the hill now, which is not very far away. They've lost almost all their volunteers, even though it's a very short distance away. Like nobody hardly goes up there, right? I would walk dogs. There's a couple other people would walk dogs. I know one of those guys, he's kind of moved on into a different living situation, so he's not around there. So it's pretty, and I'm a huge animal lover, and it's pretty sad to see these dogs all like, and cats and whatever, just up there and nobody walking them because the facility is not in a good location for people to get to. And like I said, the way this is laid out now, so I would work out on those kennels with all these dogs out there. As soon as you walk out there, absolutely, they bark. Well, it's because there's been nobody around already. As soon as you get out there with them, within like a couple minutes, they all quiet down. Like I would be right in the cages with them all, putting tin on, using drills and stuff, and they were fine. I think it's a good healthy thing for people to see, for the kids to come in, like, I don't know if you guys have ever witnessed it, but to go in and sit down and see kids in there playing with these animals and dogs and cats and having cuddle times and stuff, like, it's great. It's healthy for your kids, it's healthy for your grandkids, super healthy for me. I got a dog, I live too, right? Like it's not everything to me, so it's just a good healthy spot. And as far as donating other land and stuff, which is very nice for other people to do. So if we talk about these other lots on the other side of the traffic circle, so like they've already sunk like $250,000 into this for sure. So if they have to go to the side of the traffic circle, water, sewer, power, gas, internet, like all that stuff all comes into play. Also, you're going to be waiting another year, 2 years to redesign, re-engineer. The prices of everything, as you guys all know, it's going through the roof. So, like, somebody's gonna have to come up with, another $500,000, $1 million for services. The project's gonna get delayed, materials are gonna go up. There's many factors in this. That's just my opinion anyway. But I don't live right down here directly, but beside it, I understand people's concerns. But I think just the whole layout and setup of everything is quite good. Like it's a pretty impressive building, actually. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak in opposition?
Can you hear me okay? So my name is Angel Shamoon, and I live and own the house at 9611 95th Avenue. So if you're not familiar with that area, that's the one, it's one over from the SPCA. So kind of behind the Co-op gas bar. And so where I'm located, and I've been there for 14 years now. So when the dogs were there, and since they've gone. So I do live on the south side of the street, and I have large hedges that were there before as well. So even before, the noise was not too bad for myself. I could still hear them, and especially they would set off the other neighbor dogs. So it was sort of a chain reaction. But at least for me, I would say it was manageable and livable, and definitely not something that I, would move away because of. But in the meantime, we've actually had, as Jeannie mentioned, all the trees cut down within that entire neighborhood in order to do the paving. So with both of those factors, the trees being gone, and now a hard reflective surface like pavement versus gravel, I know I can hear the trains a lot louder, and any noises coming from that direction, they are muffled a bit still by my hedges, but for sure it's louder, and I do have some concerns about the dogs going back in. And for the record, I too like animals. I actually have chickens, so I'm the one in that neighborhood that has the chickens. We've always adopted dogs in our family from the SPCA. I used to actually walk dogs as well when I was younger. And I appreciated that I could walk to it because I actually lived not very far from the other side of the tracks, sort of in the, right by the old Calico Fabrics. So it's nothing new to me, like I do like animals. And I do have worries though about the long-term effects for our neighborhood. Because I know people have been talking about the history, it's been there for 30, 35, 37 years, which is great. But in that time, I think our neighborhood has changed. Even in the last few years, our neighborhood has changed. There's some newer housing. As I said, we had the streets repaved, and part of the reasoning behind that was, I was told, to bring our neighborhood in line with other neighborhoods in town with monolithic curb and gutter. So we were sort of ushered in to a new era with that. And it seems like it should be something to be considered that we would now have an animal shelter going back into a neighborhood that has changed. And as Jeannie and I think somebody else has mentioned, the crime in the area, I have noticed that. Again, I've been a resident in that area for many years. In the last few years, there has been more of things happening. My boyfriend has had items taken out the back of his truck. I've had issues with people actually kind of camping out in the back alley of my house and actually running an electrical cord over to my garage to take power. And parts of this, I think, are because of the Bell Center. That is a huge derelict building that is not nice to live next to. And it's a safety concern. As far as I know, there's been at least 2 fires there. And living in the area, I can see frequently people going in just to kind of check out the doors, just kind of moseying around the area. And it's frightening because that building is really close to the house that's right by the old Bell Center. So you can see how if something happened to the Bell, that would happen. Anyway, my worry is that having the SPCA brought back into that exact area, what impact would that have on future development in our neighborhood? Because there are a few other places in our neighborhood, I think, that could use, as I think Rick was saying, more housing, right? A multi-unit somewhere in our neighborhood would be great. It's a wonderfully walkable neighborhood, which is why I actually purchased there, because I don't like to drive, so I can easily walk downtown, down to the co-op. Encouraging more residential houses or housing in that neighborhood would be ideal. And I do worry, again, about having an animal shelter located in that spot. And I also, some of my questions I think have already been asked by other people, but just for the record, I'll mention that as well. So again, is it common practice to have an animal shelter located in a residential neighborhood like this? And if it is, what communities are those? So that was one of my big questions. The other one was, I understand there have been a few other locations that were considered, and maybe through the rumor mill, just things around town, hearing that there was land directly on the other side of the railroad tracks, kind of past the bridges, that's been donated. That I actually went there this morning just to see it for myself, and it's much, much larger than the one in our neighborhood. Without having a measuring tape out, it's easily twice the size, and it is quite moved back from residential areas. And again, that's actually the neighborhood I grew up in. I still own a house in that area, and I know you can see that there's nice sound buffers from different buildings. It's definitely way further back from houses than in the 94th Street area. So those were some of my main points, and yeah, I just, again, I do love animals. It's not anything about that. It's more for me just the quality, I guess, of our neighborhood, the tenor. If it's meant to be a residential commercial neighborhood that's being modernized, right? We even have new street lighting, which is great. And paving, which is what it is. I was okay with the gravel, actually, but I'm just curious how having an animal shelter in that neighborhood now fits. Maybe it did 3 decades ago when the shelter first came in, but does it still fit with our neighborhood now? And kind of for future planning considerations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Name is Fred Castellino. I've been living the 94th Avenue for about 16, 17 years now. I grew up in a farm with lots of animals and all sorts of animals, cows, dogs, cats, chickens, snakes and frogs. And I love animals around me. And I am for an SPCA, and I'm really very happy that SPCA is coming to Peace River with a new facility, new building, excellent. But going through the plan and other things, I found this particular plan that we are looking at is limited with no scope for expansion. And therefore, my humble request is not to rush through this project unless we have scope for expansion and facility that will provide enough parking, enough washrooms, all those facilities that is required for the people who visit. If the facility is limited and if it is small, those people who would like to come also will be a little scared about the odor, diseases, and other things. If it is a bigger facility, I'm sure more people will visit, and people have provided or have offered land which is much bigger than this particular facility. And I think we should consider those. That is my main concern. My second thing is, I didn't bother much about the noise because I grew up in the farm, so it didn't affect me much. But I do hear dog barking, and I'm used to it. One more point that I have raised in my letter is the animals being stressed. It's a commercial and residential place where lots of traffic, and we have an outreach school there, children walking by, children waiting for their ride. I think that disturbs the peace of the animals. They come with the stress. Animals need a place which is more quieter, where they can enjoy themselves, they can play and roam around freely. So, humble request, just look into this consideration, see if there is scope for expansion, and please do not rush through this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank the citizens that took the time to share their perspectives and concerns regarding the building development. The passion and care that you've shown for the community resonates with our society, as we have the same passion and care for the area of 94th Avenue. It is my pleasure to address the concerns of the official petition signed by 21 individuals. I'm not going to go through each thing because I only have my 5 minutes, but there's a few things I would like to address. As for an expansion, this is a huge expansion for us. We lived in 2,200 square feet for 34 years, and we're gonna be just over 5,000. I don't think the SPCA will ever expand again. I feel like what we've done is we've taken the last 5 years to thoroughly look at this facility, and it's going to be around for a long time. To address the concern about odor and sanitation, the Peace Regional SPCA staff and board hold the highest regard for cleanliness. We have 3 to 4 staff members on site each day with the responsibility of cleaning and disinfecting our premises. And this building is built so differently that we're actually going to be able to do a much better job. You know, in the past, we've had straw in the dog houses and stuff, whereas we're gonna try to limit that and make it nicer because we're gonna be having cement that we can actually wash down on a regular occasion. You know, and then the straw will be kind of left for the dog houses. Our staff follows very strict biosecurity protocols developed by a veterinary professional. And we have a cleaning and disinfecting protocol guide that I'm happy to share with anyone if you'd like to look at it. We also pay for a dumpster that's emptied twice a week, which is a significant cost for us that we get our dumpsters so that we don't have smell or flies or anything. And then also just the improvement with the updated HVAC system. This is something that we lacked in the old shelter. As when we talk about animal welfare, as an animal shelter that's been in operation for 37 years, I feel like we've consistently demonstrated our unwavering commitment to animal welfare and animal well-being. As a veterinary professional myself, I hold myself and this facility to very high standards, probably higher than most. I took an oath to uphold animal welfare and professional ethics, and to be associated with this organization for the last 30 years, I can wholeheartedly tell you that if it wasn't as respected of an organization as it is, I wouldn't be here. When we look at the character of neighborhood, the area of 94th Avenue has been home to us for 34 years. And although the condition of the old building forced us to seek temporary refuge away from the area for the last 5 years, I think it's been known that we've always wanted to return to this location. And although in the petition it said that we had been deemed it's a quiet residential area, it is also home to a construction shop, an abandoned building, the railway overlay, and a water filling station where tandem trucks come to fill up daily. I feel like we've demonstrated that this facility is going to be positive gain in the area with improved beautification, safety, and stability. I will address the donation of the land north of the highway because it has come up today. I believe that this shouldn't be part of the discussion because we are discussing the development at 9510 94th Avenue and not the donation of land, but I'm happy to address it. In December of 2024, we gave a presentation to Town Council providing an update on the SPCA and the building project. We highlighted our yearly activities, statistics, our cost of care, and the building. And I do have a copy of the presentation if anyone would like to see it. Council was shown our significant financial investment to date, and at that time, it was already at $193,000. And at that meeting, we submitted a request for financial assistance for the demolition of the old building, which was approved by council. Following this meeting in early 2025, we were approached with a generous offer of land on 91st Avenue. After carefully reviewing the property, weighing its advantages and challenges, and considering the significant financial investment already made in our current site, we made the decision to remain committed to our original location. We also needed to consider the time and the money that our volunteers had put in already exploring a lot of land. As a board, we have a fiduciary responsibility to act in the best interest of the organization, and we would be irresponsible to risk the progress and resources already invested. At this time, we were asked to keep the identity of the landowner account confidential, and I have honored that request. However, given the current circumstances, I am concerned that this individual's involvement may have potential to influence or jeopardize our development permit, and I would like that person to declare a conflict of interest, and I have a letter for the Municipal Planning Commission.
You sure what to do with them?
I don't know either.
I have a question. So if this person is asking to be removed because it's a conflict of interest, is that one of your board members? And if so, you guys still vote? You're short a person? No.
No, we couldn't because we wouldn't have quorum.
Oh. I think the biggest thing with all this, like you speak of turn here, so is. I know it's not my turn, but we're talking about cost and stuff, and I don't know, but. If this gets built in another location, like, it's gonna cost so much more money,
How was that?
well, just for service.
Most of the stuff you guys can keep using, the building plans, all of it. You guys, and I've seen the amount of money you guys spent, which is not true. Because I know the guy who really feels. What do you mean no? You guys can make the truth? What's the matter, man?
Building.
It's 5,500 for the asbestos removal. I know they've already did it. Okay, well, they get the town paid for the demo. You can't add all that money and put it on the.
Excuse me, we're gonna declare a recess for a moment while we address this letter, decide how we're gonna deal with it.
Yeah, and we might use the house for those consultations.
And we're gonna have to do it at a closed session, by the way, so we can have a discussion. So we're gonna have to ask you guys all to just step outside for 5 minutes, get your fresh air. Discuss the pros and cons of it.
I make a motion to move to closed session. It is.
Concerned about all the chief.